The last time anyone saw Eric and Sofia Bergström, they were adjusting the mainsail of their wooden sailboat. June 17th, 7:43 p.m., the sun refusing to set over Moya Island. Their 12-year-old daughter waved from the dock. She watched the white sail disappear between the rocky islands, into the labyrinth of 30,000 islands that form Stockholm's archipelago. 3 hours later, their boat was found, empty, drifting, the sail still up. 2 coffee cups on the deck. Still warm. No distress call. No struggle, no bodies. Just the endless Baltic silence and the boat rocking gently in the summer twilight that never quite becomes night. How does a couple vanish from a sailboat in calm waters, in one of the world's most navigated archipelagos? The Stockholm archipelago stretches 80 kilometers into the Baltic. A maze of granite islands, hidden channels, and waters that shift from crystal clear to ink black in meters. Beautiful, deceptive, unforgiving. But what happened remained hidden beneath the waves and wilderness, until LiDAR saw through the Baltic waters and revealed the impossible. Erik Bergström, 40 West marine engineer. Sofia Bergström, 39, landscape architect. Married 15 years, 2 daughters. A red summer cottage on Moya Island that Eric's grandfather built in 1947. Every June, the same ritual. Stockholm to Moya. 20 nautical miles through the archipelago they'd sailed since childhood. Eric knew these waters like the lines on his palms. Sofia could read the weather in the color of the Baltic. They weren't tourists. They were archipelago people. The Bergströms left Stockholm's Skeppsholmen marina at 4:15 p.m. Perfect conditions. Southwest wind at 8 knots. Visibility unlimited. Water temperature 16 degrees Celsius. Their route, straight through Furusund Passage, then southeast to Moya, a journey they'd made 40 times before. Their sailboat, the Frigga, was a Hallberg Rassi 29. Solid Swedish craftsmanship. New GPS, updated charts, all safety equipment inspected 3 weeks prior. Sofia's last phone call was to her mother at 6:30 p.m. We're passing Röska, making good time. Dinner around 9. Background sounds on that call. Wind, water, Eric laughing. Nothing wrong. Nothing unusual. At 7:43 p.m., a fisherman near Moya photographed them adjusting the sail. The last image, Eric in his blue sailing jacket. Sofia's blonde hair catching the endless June light. At 10:47 p.m., a family arriving at Moya found the Frigga drifting 300 meters from shore. Engine off, sail up. The boat intact. Both their phones were aboard. Wallets, keys, Sofia's glasses on the navigation table. The glasses she couldn't see without. The coffee cups, still warm. But there was something about those coffee cups that nobody noticed. Initially, the detail that would explain how 2 experienced sailors disappeared without trace from a perfectly functioning boat in the most monitored waters in Scandinavia. 10:51 p.m. The alarm reached Swedish Maritime Administration. 10:58 p.m. First rescue helicopter airborne from Berga Naval Base. 11:15 p.m. Every boat within 10 kilometers notified. The archipelago network activated. This is how Sweden responds. Immediate, coordinated, total. Helicopters swept the archipelago with thermal cameras. The June night that barely darkens made aerial search easier. Every island, every rocky outcrop, every boat illuminated. Coast Guard vessels formed search patterns, expanding circles from where Frigga was found. Sonar mapping the seafloor. Divers checking the immediate area. By midnight, 40 vessels were searching. By 2 a.m., Swedish Maritime Rescue Society volunteers from 15 stations joined. Local boat owners who know every rock, every current, every dangerous spot. The theory was obvious, man overboard. Both of them. Maybe Sofia fell. Eric jumped in to save her. The Baltic is 16 degrees Celsius in June. Survivable, but the cold grips fast. Hypothermia can incapacitate in 30 minutes, but the sail was up. The boat was sailing itself when found. If both fell overboard, who raised the sail? At dawn, specialized dive teams arrived. They searched a 2-kilometer radius. The Baltic here is complex. Rocky bottom. Sudden drops from 5 meters to 40 meters. Underwater caves, thick kelp forests. Nothing. Helicopters returned with daylight. Infrared cameras covering every island. Dogs on the larger islands. Volunteers walking shorelines. The Swedish Coast Guard deployed their newest sonar technology. side-scan sonar that could map the seafloor in unprecedented detail. For 2009, it was state-of-the-art. They found a bicycle from the 1960s, anchors, fishing nets, a small motorboat sunk in 1993. Not the Bergstroms. By the second day, 150 people were searching. Police divers, military resources, thermal drones, echo sounders, everything Sweden had. The search covered 50 square kilometers, every technique available in 2009 deployed. But they lacked one technology, one specific capability that would only become available years later. One system that could see what human eyes, sonar and thermal cameras couldn't. LiDAR bathymetric scanning, technology that uses green laser light to penetrate water and map underwater features with centimeter precision. In 2009 it existed, but not in Sweden's Archipelago rescue equipment. Not yet. The investigation split into two theories. Theory 1, double drowning. Both fell overboard. The most statistically likely scenario in maritime disappearances. Baltic currents could have carried bodies kilometers from the boat. The archipelago's complex underwater topography creates pockets where bodies can become trapped indefinitely. Evidence supporting the empty boat. The raised sail suggesting they were sailing when something happened. No signs of struggle. Both were strong swimmers, but the Baltic is merciless. Theory 2, voluntary disappearance, financial records checked, no debts, successful careers, happy marriage by all accounts, but investigators must consider everything. Evidence against their daughters, Sophia's elderly mother, Eric's engineering firm where he was partner. Nobody abandons that without trace. The boat itself told a strange story. Forensics found both their fingerprints everywhere. Normal, their DNA, expected. But also something else. The coffee cups. Chemical analysis showed they'd been filled approximately 8 p.m., around the time they disappeared. But the coffee was from their thermos, filled before they left Stockholm at 4 p.m. Why make fresh coffee from an old thermos so close to arriving at Moya? The autopilot was off. The rudder was free. Yet the boat had sailed itself 300 meters before being found. The wind and current had coincidentally kept it moving in a straight line. Probability of that? Low, very low. Weather data showed perfect conditions. No sudden squalls, no rogue waves. The Baltic had been calm. Wind steady at 8 knots all evening. Every boat in the area was interviewed. A ferry at 7:30 p.m. saw Frigga sailing normally. A yacht at 8:15 p.m. noticed it, but saw no people on deck. At 8:45 p.m., a fishing boat saw it drifting. 30-minute window. Somewhere in those 30 minutes, the Bergstroms vanished. Underwater searches continued for weeks. Police divers mapped every meter within 3 kilometers. The Swedish Navy brought in additional sonar equipment. The archipelago's underwater landscape is treacherous. Rocky ridges rise suddenly from 40-meter depths. Narrow channels between islands create strong currents. Dense vegetation on the bottom tangles everything. Each piece of evidence revealed more questions while answering none. The Baltic waters held their secrets. The thousands of islands absorbed search efforts like granite soaking up waves. It was as if the archipelago itself was protecting what happened, actively hiding what every technology, every diver, every helicopter couldn't find. 14 years, 2 daughters growing up without answers, a family frozen in uncertainty. No closure, no goodbye, just the endless waiting. If this touches you, if you believe families deserve to know the truth, a like helps us continue revealing what the Nordic waters conceal. Subscribe, because what LiDAR found will completely change this story. The technology that sees through water itself is about to expose what the Baltic hid for over a decade. By month 3, investigators had crystallized 2 competing explanations. Theory 1 dominated, simultaneous medical emergency. Perhaps Eric had a heart attack. Sophia jumped in to help him. Both incapacitated. The Baltic claimed them before they could call for help. The evidence lined up. Eric had high blood pressure. His last medical checkup showed borderline cholesterol. Stress at work. At 41, sudden cardiac events happen. Sophia's immediate response would be to jump in. No time to radio, no time to think. Just reaction. The boat, on autopilot in their final moments before the emergency, would explain the sailing behavior. Theory 2 emerged later, underwater entanglement. The archipelago's bottom is littered with old fishing nets, abandoned tackle, rope. If one of them went swimming, perhaps to check the propeller to retrieve something dropped overboard, they could have been caught. The scenario haunted investigators. Sophia or Eric trapped underwater, the other jumping in to save them. Both caught. The Baltic doesn't release what it takes. Divers found 17 old nets within the search area. 3 had sections that could trap a person, but every expert agreed. Experienced sailors don't swim in the Baltic wearing clothes. They certainly don't both swim simultaneously. Not in 16°C water, not without telling someone. Both theories had fatal flaws. Theory 1 couldn't explain the coffee cups. Why make fresh coffee if Eric was having a medical emergency? Why was Sophia calm enough to pour coffee? Theory 2 couldn't explain the lack of distress call. Modern sailing boats have multiple emergency systems, handheld VHF radios, mobile phones, EPIRBs. If one person was trapped, the other would activate something. The investigation consumed over 3,000 man-hours. Cost exceeded 12 million kroner. Every resource deployed. 2 plausible theories, both supported by partial evidence, both contradicted by crucial details, and both would prove completely wrong when LiDAR penetrated the Baltic in 2023, June 2023, 14 years after the Bergstroms vanished. Stockholm Maritime Museum launched a seafloor mapping project, documenting the archipelago's underwater heritage, shipwrecks, ancient structures, historical anchoring sites. The technology, LiDAR bathymetric scanning. Unlike sonar that uses sound waves, LiDAR fires 900,000 green laser pulses per second. These pulses penetrate water up to 50 meters deep. The system records the exact position of every reflection, creating 3-dimensional maps accurate to 10 centimeters. It sees what sonar misses. It penetrates where cameras can't. It reveals the invisible. The mapping team covered the Moja Island area in July 2023. Standard documentation, scientific research. Then their screens showed something impossible. At coordinates 59.4127 degrin, 18.9321 degree E, depth 23 meters. Distance from where Frigga was found 380 meters. The LiDAR image was unmistakable. A sailboat. Upright on the seafloor, mast intact, hull complete. But there was no record of any sunken sailboat in that location. No reports. No insurance claims, nothing. The mapping team notified police on July 15, 2023 police. Divers reached the site on July 17th. 14 years and 1 month to the day after the Bergstroms disappeared. The underwater visibility was 8 meters, good for the Baltic. The divers descended into the green twilight. At 18 meters they saw it, a Hallberg Rassi 29, white hull, blue trim. Registration number partially visible, SE7741 Frigga. The boat was sitting upright, the keel embedded in soft bottom sediment, the mast reaching toward the surface, but stopping 8 meters short. 14 years, 380 meters from where rescue teams had searched intensively, in an area that side-scan sonar had swept multiple times in 2009. How did they miss it? The answer was in the seafloor topography. LiDAR revealed what sonar couldn't. Frigga had settled into a narrow underwater canyon, a fissure in the granite bedrock only 12 meters wide. The boat had slipped perfectly into this crack. From above, from any angle except directly overhead, the boat was invisible, hidden by the rocky walls of the submarine canyon. 2009 sonar had swept over it. The sound waves reflected off the canyon's edges, never reaching the boat below. But LiDAR's vertical laser pulses penetrated straight down, mapping every contour, revealing what had been there unseen for 14 years. LiDAR did what 150 searchers couldn't. It saw through the Baltic's deception and revealed the truth hidden in plain sight. July 18, 2023. Full recovery operation mobilized. Swedish Maritime Police, forensic dive teams. The same rescue coordination that searched in 2009, now returning to finish what they'd started. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Some of the same divers, some of the same boats, searching meters from where they'd searched before. The recovery required precision. Frigga sat in 23 meters of water, inside a canyon. The positioning was delicate. A specialized salvage barge positioned overhead. GPS coordinates 59.4127 degran, 18.9321 degree. Margin of error, less than 1 meter. Forensic divers descended first, documenting everything. Cameras, measurements, evidence collection before any disturbance. The boat's condition was remarkable. The Baltic's low salinity and cold temperatures preserve everything. Wood, fabric, metal. The frigga looked like it had sunk months ago, not 14 years. The cabin door was closed but unlocked. Inside, darkness. The divers' lights revealed the cabin frozen in time. Navigation charts on the table. Sophia's glasses still there. The coffee thermos. Everything exactly as it was. And then they found them. The recovery took 48 hours. The Swedish approach, methodical, respectful, thorough. Lifting straps positioned around the hull. Inflatable bags carefully deployed. Slow, controlled ascent. The boat emerging from 14 years of Baltic darkness back into the endless summer light. July 20th, frigga surfaced. Water streaming from the cockpit. Barnacles on the hull, but structurally intact. The boat was secured and transported to a police forensic facility in Stockholm. The same facility where it had been examined in 2009. Coordinates exact. Depth 23 meters. Distance 380 meters from the original search center. The truth was hours from being fully exposed. The mystery that had haunted Sweden's archipelago for 14 years was about to reveal its final secrets. The forensic examination took 11 days. Inside Frigga's cabin, they found Eric and Sofia Bergström. They were together. The cabin had become their final resting place. The Baltic's cold water and low oxygen had preserved them in a way that allowed forensic pathologists to determine what happened. The findings reconstructed those 30 missing minutes. Both Bergströms had been inside the cabin. No signs of external trauma. No injuries consistent with falling overboard or struggle. Toxicology revealed elevated carbon monoxide levels. The investigation traced the source, the boat's small diesel cabin heater. A unit installed in 2007, 2 years before the disappearance. The heater's exhaust system had a microscopic crack, invisible to visual inspection, impossible to detect without specialized equipment. As Frigga sailed that June evening, the heater was running. Stockholm's summer nights are cold on the water. The heater made the cabin comfortable, but the cracked exhaust leaked carbon monoxide directly into the cabin space. Carbon monoxide is invisible, odorless, tasteless. At sufficient concentrations, it causes confusion, disorientation, unconsciousness, then death. The symptoms mimic tiredness. Eric and Sofia likely felt drowsy, perhaps mildly headachy. Nothing alarming, just the comfortable exhaustion of a day's sailing. They went into the cabin, perhaps to get something. Perhaps Eric felt unwell and went to rest. Sofia followed to check on him. The carbon monoxide concentration in the closed cabin was lethal. Within minutes, they would have been unconscious. Within 10 minutes beyond help. Meanwhile, Frigga sailed on. The autopilot wasn't engaged, but the balanced sail and rudder kept the boat moving straight. For perhaps 15 minutes, the sailboat ghosted through the archipelago, its occupants already gone. Eventually, the wind shifted slightly. The boat turned, lost momentum, began drifting. This was when other boats noticed it unmanned. But by then, Frigga had sailed into the narrow canyon area. The boat's momentum, the specific current patterns, the angle of drift, everything combined to position it perfectly over the 12-meter-wide underwater fissure. And it sank. The reason for sinking? The cabin door. It wasn't fully secured. As the boat drifted and took on water through small openings, the cabin slowly flooded. The weight increased. Frigga settled lower. Then it slipped beneath the surface, down into the canyon. Perfectly vertical descent into the narrow rock fissure that would hide it for 14 years. LiDAR revealed where Eric and Sofia were. But how they went into the cabin together, those final moments, the exact sequence, some details the Baltic keeps forever. The archipelago gave back the Bergströms, but not every answer. The Bergström daughters were 26 and 22 when their parents were finally found. Half their lives spent in uncertainty. Closure came in pieces, the knowledge of what happened. The understanding it wasn't abandonment or suffering, just a silent, invisible killer and a series of tragic coincidences. The funeral took place in August 2023, 14 years late. But finally, goodbye. The Swedish Maritime Administration implemented immediate changes. Mandatory carbon monoxide detectors on all vessels, with enclosed cabins and heating systems. inspections of older diesel heater installations, updated safety protocols. Carbon monoxide detectors cost 300 krona, $35. They could have saved the Bergströms. The Archipelago community responded. Boat owners checking heaters, awareness campaigns. The Stockholm Sailing Federation created the Bergström Safety Standard, a checklist now standard across Swedish marinas. But the haunting question remains: how many times did rescue boats pass within meters of Frigga in 2009? The underwater canyon was only 12 meters wide. The search pattern was comprehensive. Statistical analysis suggests rescue vessels likely passed directly over the fissure at least 7 times during the intensive search. But 2009's technology couldn't see it. The case taught a bitter lesson about limits. Even Sweden's advanced rescue capabilities, the thousands of hours, the sophisticated 2009 equipment, none of it could see what they needed to see. After Erik and Sofia, LiDAR bathymetric scanning became protocol. Every major search now includes the technology. The green lasers that penetrate water's deceptions. But the truth remains. The Stockholm Archipelago, with its 30,000 islands and labyrinth of underwater canyons, still holds more secrets beneath its deceptively beautiful surface. The Bergström case teaches us that invisible dangers kill quietly. Carbon monoxide needs no storm, no dramatic moment, just a microscopic crack in time. LiDAR technology that revealed them in 2023 existed in 2009, but wasn't deployed in rescue operations. Wasn't considered necessary. The 14-year gap between disappearance and discovery was technological, not geographical. The Bergströms were there all along. We simply couldn't see them. The irony cuts deep. They vanished 380 meters from intensive search operations, passed over multiple times, hidden not by distance, but by a trick of underwater topography that fooled every sensor we had. This case reminds us that even in the most organized societies in the world, the vastness of Nordic nature continues to be a human mystery, capable of making people simply disappear, leaving only echoes in the eternal landscapes of Scandinavia. If this story impressed you, leave a like. Subscribe to Nordic Missing Stories channel to not miss our next mysteries from Nordic lands. Share with that friend fascinated by Nordic mysteries and maritime disappearances. This revelation will impress them. In the comments, tell us, should carbon monoxide detectors be mandatory on all boats with enclosed cabins? Activate the bell to be notified of upcoming cases. Thank you for watching. And remember, in the vast Nordic landscapes, there are always more mysteries waiting in the eternal mists of the north. Until the next mystery from Scandinavian lands,